Hey everyone, and welcome back to another deep dive. We're tackling a question today that I bet a lot of new moms out there are thinking about.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you do the keto diet while you're breastfeeding?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, so, we got some research on this, and it's super important
Absolutely.
because you're not just thinking about your own health anymore. You've got a little one to nourish.
You got it.
So we're going to go way beyond a simple yes or no.
Yeah,
We're going to unpack the why.
love that.
The article we're looking at today is titled, Can You Follow the Keto Diet While Breastfeeding?
Okay, great.
And it's got some really interesting stuff in here.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that immediately jump out to you as super important when we're thinking about keto and breastfeeding?
Well, I think what's really interesting here is that the keto diet is, super trendy for weight loss and blood sugar control.
Mm-hmm.
But when we bring in breastfeeding, caution is key, right? Especially because there's not that much research out there specifically on keto and breastfeeding.
Okay, so let's back up a tiny bit.
Yeah.
And just for our listener who maybe isn't super familiar,
Yeah.
can you just recap what is the keto diet and
right.
why is it so popular these days?
So the keto diet is all about cutting carbs way down low and replacing them with fats.
Okay.
And the goal is to get your body into this state called ketosis,
Right.
which is a metabolic state where your body starts burning fat for energy instead of those carbs.
Okay.
And this is why it's so popular, because it can lead to weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
It can improve blood sugar control for people.
Got it. So it's like flipping a switch in your body and suddenly it's a fat burning machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I'm sure sounds really appealing to people.
Of course.
Especially, if they've just had a baby.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that limited research on keto and breastfeeding.
Right.
That's a pretty big deal, right?
We have to be extra careful because a lot of the information that we see out there is anecdotal. It's people just talking about their own experiences, which can be helpful, but it's not the same as solid research.
Right. And I think, as we're going through this article,
Yeah.
we're going to see, some places where it hints that there could be benefits, but there's that giant caution sign.
Right.
What's the deal with that?
So some anecdotal evidence suggests that keto could lead to higher fat, higher calorie breast milk,
Okay.
which, sounds great, right?
Right. Sounds like a plus.
But-
But we don't really know for sure.
You don't have the research to support that quite yet.
Yeah. And even if it's true,
Yeah.
we have to think about, okay, are the potential benefits worth the risks?
Absolutely.
Which is something that this article also talks about.
Yeah, it's definitely.
And, one of the things that really jumped out at me was this concern about milk supply.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Huge for any breastfeeding mom.
Huge.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, breastfeeding requires a lot of calories
Mm-hmm.
and fluids to produce enough milk for your baby. And because the keto diet is so filling, you might not be able to eat enough to keep up with your supply.
So it's almost like counterintuitive.
Totally.
You're trying to, lose the baby weight, but you need to be eating more.
You have to eat more, and we're not talking about a small increase.
Right.
The article mentions sedentary women need like 1,800 calories at least while they're breastfeeding.
Okay.
But if you're more active, a lot of new moms are,
Oh, yeah.
that number jumps up to like 2,400.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot of calories.
It's a lot.
And then on top of that, you also need to stay hydrated.
Yes.
Like super hydrated.
Oh, yeah.
Like the article even mentions some moms needing a gallon of water a day.
It's right. It sounds intense.
It does sound intense.
But that's because being in ketosis can actually increase your fluid needs.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, your fluid needs are higher when you're breastfeeding anyway.
Okay.
Your body's working overtime.
So milk supply is one concern,
Mm-hmm.
but there's another one that was even scarier to me when I read it, which is this risk of ketoacidosis.
Okay, so this is a serious condition.
Yeah.
Basically, it happens when your body produces ketones too quickly.
Okay.
And if those ketone levels get too high, your blood becomes too acidic.
Not good.
And that can be dangerous. Yeah.
Okay, so what are we talking about here? Like, what are some of the symptoms?
Yeah, so it can cause nausea, vomiting, shortness of breath, even chest pain.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that sounds pretty scary.
It is scary.
And it's rare.
It is rare.
But the fact that it's even a possibility,
Yeah.
Especially when you're now responsible for this tiny human,
Right.
that's a huge deal.
It is a huge deal. And it's more likely to occur if you were on the keto diet.
Okay.
especially if you have any pre-existing health conditions.
So this is definitely something,
Yeah.
if our listener is thinking about this,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta talk to your doctor.
Absolutely talk to your doctor before even considering this.
Right. Okay. So we've seen some pretty serious things to consider here about doing keto while breastfeeding.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you're out of options.
Right.
There are some other diets that maybe could be a better fit.
Yeah.
What are some of the other things that the article mentions?
So the article highlights a few alternatives, and the first one is the Mediterranean diet.
Okay.
So this is a diet that focuses on whole grains, healthy fats like olive oil, lots of fruits, veggies, and fish.
I've always loved the idea of the Mediterranean diet.
Me too.
It seems so much more than a diet.
It is.
It's like a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
And there's some research that suggests
Yes.
that there are some amazing benefits.
Yeah.
Not just for mom, but for baby, too.
For both of you. And one study actually showed that moms who followed the Mediterranean diet while breastfeeding had babies with a lower risk of developing asthma.
Wow. I did not know that.
It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, the asthma connection.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
And it makes sense, right? You are what you eat.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes for your breast milk, too.
So if you're putting good stuff in,
Yeah. Good stuff's coming out.
that's the idea.
All right. So Mediterranean diet.
Just check.
What else we got?
Well, if you're really set on cutting those carbs, but maybe not as drastically as keto,
Yeah.
a low-carb diet could be a good stepping stone.
Poke?
It's not as restrictive, so there's not as much risk of that ketoacidosis.
Right.
But you can still reap some of the benefits of cutting back on those carbs.
So it's like a more moderate approach.
Yes.
So maybe if somebody's thinking about it,
Yeah,
but they're not ready to go full keto,
right.
this could be a good way to dip their toes in.
Exactly. And it could be a good way to ease into things if they're coming from, a standard American diet
Right.
that tends to be high in carbs.
Okay, so low-carb diet.
Yes.
Noted.
So noted.
And there was one more that I was curious about,
Yeah.
which is paleo.
Paleo.
That's the story there.
So paleo is all about getting back to the basics.
Okay.
Eating like our hunter-gatherer ancestors.
It emphasizes whole, unprocessed foods, cuts out grains, added sugars, dairy legumes,
So not as low carb as keto,
not as low-carb.
but still a pretty big shift
Definitely.
for most people.
Yeah.
And really focusing on the quality of the food.
Exactly, the quality of the food you're putting in your body.
Right. Okay, so we've got Mediterranean, we've got low carb, we've got paleo as potential options
You do?
instead of keto
Yes.
while breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Lots of things to think about.
Lots of things to think about.
It's really about finding what works best for you and your little one.
It really is, and this is just a starting point.
Right.
The best diet for you is going to depend on your individual needs.
Right. And your own circumstances.
Absolutely.
But before I move on from those alternatives,
Yeah.
I do want to touch on something really important that the article brought up over and over again,
Okay.
which is working with healthcare professionals.
Oh, that's so important.
Yeah.
Throughout this whole process.
It's not just about, going on Google and trying to figure this out yourself.
Absolutely not. You need a team of experts in your corner.
Yeah.
Your doctor can monitor your overall health address, any specific concerns, and a lactation consultant can provide invaluable support and guidance on optimizing your milk supply and making sure your baby is getting what they need.
It's like your personal cheer squad
Totally.
for this whole breastfeeding journey.
They're there for you.
But, one thing we haven't really talked about yet
Yeah.
is the emotional side of all of this.
Oh, for sure.
We've
For
talked
sure.
about the physical risks and benefits of these different diets,
Yeah.
but there's so much pressure
Oh, yeah.
on new moms to bounce back after pregnancy.
Absolutely. It's this expectation that women should snap back to their pre-pregnancy bodies immediately, which is just unrealistic.
Right, and kind of harmful.
And honestly, it's pretty harmful.
Yeah, and I think, the popularity of diets like keto
Yeah.
can kind of feed into that pressure a little bit.
It can, because it's like this quick fix.
Yeah, like a magic solution.
Yeah.
But the reality is
Yes.
our bodies go through incredible transformations during pregnancy and postpartum.
They do.
It takes time to heal and adjust.
It does, and it's different for everyone.
Mhm.
Some women might naturally lose weight more quickly than others,
Right.
and that's perfectly okay.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong timeline.
No.
And I think it's just so important to remember that
Yeah.
focusing on nourishing your body with healthy foods
Yes.
is so much more important than stressing about the number on the scale.
Couldn't agree more. It's about fueling your body for all the amazing things it's doing.
Yeah.
Recovering from childbirth. Producing milk for your baby.
You're a powerhouse.
You are a powerhouse. You need premium fuel
Love it.
to keep up.
Okay, and speaking of fuel,
Yeah.
that brings me to something else
Okay.
that I wanted to touch on,
Yeah.
which is sustainability.
Okay.
You know, we've talked about keto being pretty restrictive.
Yeah.
We've talked about how that could impact milk supply.
Right.
But I'm also wondering about the long term.
Mm-hmm.
Is this really something that somebody can stick with?
That is a great question.
Yeah,
And honestly, for most people, probably not.
right.
Imagine trying to stick to keto forever. No more birthday cake,
No.
no pasta, no pizza.
Yeah.
It's a big commitment.
It's a huge commitment.
And for most people, it's just not realistic in the long run.
Right. And it's not just about willpower at a certain point.
No.
It's about, finding a way of eating that you can actually live with.
That you can live with that fits your lifestyle, your preferences.
Exactly.
And that's why it's so important to think about the big picture, not just the immediate results.
Yeah.
If you're constantly feeling deprived and restricted, you're more likely to give up altogether.
Yeah.
And that can lead to yo-yo dieting and ultimately more frustration.
Right. So it's about finding that sweet spot.
Yes.
A way of eating that's healthy, sustainable,
And enjoyable.
and enjoyable.
I feel like that's where those alternative diets we were talking about
Yeah.
really shine.
They do. They offer a more balanced approach that can be adapted to your individual needs,
Right.
your preferences.
And the Mediterranean diet, for example,
Yes.
it's all about embracing those delicious whole foods.
Absolutely. It's not about deprivation. It's about abundance,
Yeah.
enjoyment.
And there's so much flexibility within that.
Yeah.
You can really tailor it
Like a
to your
grab.
own tastes, your cultural background.
Exactly. It's not one size fits all.
Right. And same for the low carb, paleo.
Yeah.
They're sort of like a framework.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of
Make it your own.
personalize it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So we keep coming back to this idea of working with those healthcare professionals.
So important.
And I think that's something that maybe we don't always remember to do.
I agree.
It's easy to get caught up in, reading things online. Oh my gosh, yes. Especially between the internet and social media and well-meaning friends and family.
Oh, yeah.
It's easy to get overwhelmed with information.
Right. It's information overload.
Total information overload.
And I think that's where those trusted experts come in.
They do.
And they can help you kind of sift through the noise
Yes.
and make informed decisions.
Exactly.
That are right for you.
That are right for you, help you separate fact from fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Address any concerns you might have.
So if our listener is feeling a little overwhelmed right now,
Yeah.
what's the one piece of advice you'd give them?
I would say, first and foremost, be kind to yourself. You're going through so much right now,
Yeah.
both physically and emotionally.
Yeah.
Don't put too much pressure on yourself to be perfect or achieve some idealized version of motherhood.
Right.
Focus on nourishing your body, listening to your intuition,
Mm-hmm.
seeking support when you need it.
And I think that ties back to what we were saying about, finding a sustainable approach.
Absolutely.
Eating. It's not just about the food on your plate. It's about cultivating that healthy relationship with yourself and your body.
It is. It's about self-care,
Yeah.
self-compassion, making choices that support your overall well-being.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well said. Okay, so we've talked a lot about,
I have.
the potential risks and benefits of keto while breastfeeding.
Right.
But the article also mentions
Yes.
transitioning to keto after weaning,
It does.
which seems like a whole other conversation.
It is a whole other conversation, and it's something we could definitely explore in a future deep dive.
Yeah, for sure.
There are a lot of factors to consider your individual health goals,
Mm-hmm.
your lifestyle, your preferences.
Right. It's not a one-size-fits-all.
Absolutely not.
Okay, so I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We've talked about the science,
Yes.
the emotional aspects,
Yeah.
the importance of seeking that professional guidance.
Absolutely.
I hope that our listener is feeling a little more empowered now
You too.
to kind of make an informed decision.
Yes.
Right, for them and their baby.
And for their baby.
That's the goal.
That is the goal.
We want to give everybody out there
Yes.
the knowledge and the resources that they need
Yeah.
to navigate these sometimes complicated topics.
It can be complicated,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick pause here.
Okay.
But when we come back,
Yeah.
we're going to wrap up
Okay.
this keto and breastfeeding deep dive
It's good.
with some final thoughts and takeaways.
All right. Looking forward to it.
Stay tuned.
You're so right. It's so important to have that team of experts in your corner.
Yeah.
They can really help you make the best decisions for you and your baby.
Yeah. And what's so interesting is we're talking about all this information and the science, but we haven't really talked about
Yeah.
the emotional side of it,
Oh, absolutely.
which is huge.
It is.
We've talked about all these physical risks and benefits of these different types of diets,
Yeah.
but there's so much pressure on new moms
Oh my gosh. Oh, so much pressure.
to bounce back after pregnancy.
Absolutely. And it's this societal expectation
Right.
that, women should snap back to their pre-pregnancy bodies immediately,
Yeah.
which is just not realistic.
And honestly, I think it's kind of harmful.
It is harmful
Yeah.
to put that kind of pressure on yourself.
And I think diets like keto can feed into that.
It does,
Mm.
because it's seen as this quick fix,
Yeah, a magic bullet.
magic solution.
Yeah,
But our bodies go through so much
they do.
during pregnancy and postpartum.
So much.
It takes time
It
to
does.
heal and adjust.
It really does.
And it's so different for everyone.
It is so different.
Some women might naturally lose the weight quicker than others.
Exactly.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. There's no right or wrong timeline. No, and I think it's just so important for our listener to remember that focusing on nourishing your body with healthy foods
Yes.
is way more important than stressing about, the number on the scale.
Absolutely. It's all about fueling your body for
Hmm.
all the amazing things it's doing.
Right.
Recovering from childbirth, producing milk for your baby.
Like you said, you're a powerhouse.
You are a powerhouse, and you need that premium fuel
Yes.
to keep going.
And speaking of fuel,
Yeah.
that makes me think about sustainability.
Okay.
We've talked about keto being really restrictive.
Right.
We talked about how that could impact milk supply.
Mm.
But I'm also wondering about, the
Yes.
long term.
Long term,
Can somebody really stick with this?
That is a great question. And honestly, for most people, probably not.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to do keto forever. No birthday cake,
No pizza.
no pasta.
Oh, man.
It's a huge commitment.
Yeah, it is.
And for most people, it's just not realistic in the long run.
And, it's not just about willpower at a certain point.
It's not.
No. It's about finding a way of eating
Yes.
that you can live with.
Exactly. That you enjoy.
Yeah.
That fits into your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's so important to think about the big picture,
Yeah.
not just the immediate results. Because if you're constantly feeling deprived and restricted, you're more likely to just give up.
Yeah.
And then that can lead to, yo-yo dieting.
Right.
And more frustration in the long run.
So it's about finding that sweet spot,
It is.
that way of eating that's healthy, sustainable,
Sustainable.
and enjoyable.
Enjoyable.
And I feel like that's where these alternative diets we've talked about
Yes.
really shine.
It really do.
They offer a more balanced approach
Yeah.
that can really be tailored to the individual.
Absolutely. And like the Mediterranean diet, for example.
Yeah.
It's all about embracing a variety of delicious foods.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about deprivation. It's about enjoying food.
Yeah.
It's about abundance.
And I love that it's so flexible. You can really make it your own.
You can tailor it to your taste, to your cultural background.
Yeah, it's not a one-size-fits-all.
It's not a one-size-fits-all at all.
And same with the low-carb and the paleo.
Yep.
It's like a framework.
Mhm.
And then you can kind of fill in the gaps
Exactly.
based on your preferences.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we keep coming back to this idea of working with healthcare professionals.
Oh, it's so important.
And I think that's something maybe we don't always think about,
I agree.
Yeah. Especially now.
Especially now with the internet.
With Dr. Google.
Dr. Google, exactly. And social media.
Yeah, and all the well-meaning advice.
Oh my gosh.
The advice.
You get from everybody.
But everyone, it's information overload.
It really is.
And that's where those trusted professionals come in to help you sift through all the noise,
Right.
make informed decisions that are right for you and your baby.
So if our listener is feeling a little overwhelmed right now,
Yeah.
what's like the one piece of advice? Oh gosh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is to be kind to yourself. You're going through so much right now,
Yeah.
both physically and emotionally. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to be perfect or to, achieve some idealized version of motherhood.
Mm-hmm.
Just focus on nourishing your body, listening to your intuition, seeking support when you need it.
I love that. And I think that ties back to what we were just saying about finding a sustainable approach
It does.
to eating.
Absolutely.
It's not just about the food on your plate. It's
Yeah.
about really cultivating a healthy relationship with yourself
Yeah.
and your body.
It's about self-care, self-compassion,
Mm-hmm.
making choices that support your overall well-being.
That's beautifully said.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about,
We have.
the risks and benefits
Yeah.
of keto while breastfeeding.
Right.
But this article also mentions transitioning to keto after weaning,
It does.
which feels like a whole
A
other
whole other conversation.
deep dive.
We could do a whole deep dive on that.
For sure.
And, there were a lot of factors to consider your individual health goals.
Yeah.
Your lifestyle or your preferences.
And we always say it's not a one-size-fits-all.
Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah.
Every person's different.
Every person is different.
Okay, so I feel like we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We've talked about the science.
Yes.
The emotional aspects.
The emotional aspects.
The importance of seeking that professional guidance.
So important.
And I'm hoping that our listener is feeling a little bit more empowered now
I hope so too.
to make an informed decision
Yes.
for them and their baby.
That's right.
That's always our goal here.
That's the goal.
Is to give people the knowledge and the resources they need to really navigate these sometimes complicated topics.
Oh, it can be tricky.
Yeah, it can be really tricky.
For sure.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick pause here.
Okay.
But when we come back, we're going to wrap up
That's good.
this keto and breastfeeding deep dive
Looking forward to it.
with some final thoughts and takeaways.
Awesome.
Stay tuned. All right, so we're back. And, as we're wrapping up this deep dive, I'm thinking about everything we've talked about.
Yeah.
The research, there's the expert opinions.
Right.
But what about the listener? Like, what about their own gut feeling?
Oh, that's so important.
Yeah.
We can give you all the information in the world,
Right.
but at the end of the day, nobody knows your body and your baby better than you.
Yeah. We were talking about the risk of ketoacidosis
Yeah.
and how it's rare.
Right.
But even a small chance can feel huge
It can.
when it's your health and your baby's health.
Absolutely.
There's that mama bear instinct that kicks in
Authority.
that goes beyond just the statistics.
It does, and trusting your gut is so important,
Yeah.
especially as a new parent. If something feels off,
Yeah.
if you're having doubts, don't ignore those feelings.
Talk to somebody.
Talk to somebody. Talk to your doctor. Talk to a lactation consultant.
Yeah.
They can help you sort through it all.
And this is where I think having that support system is so important too.
Oh, for sure.
We've talked about the healthcare providers.
Right.
But your partner, your family, your friends who've been there.
Yeah, your tribe.
Yeah, their voices matter too.
They really do.
Yeah.
Even just having someone to listen to you,
Yeah.
validate how you're feeling, offer a different perspective.
Right.
That can make all the difference.
Especially when you're feeling, overwhelmed or confused.
Absolutely.
I think that's something we don't always remember
Yeah.
in our quest for all the information.
Right.
It's not just about the facts. It's about that emotional support too.
It's about the feeling
Yeah.
and having those people to support you.
So if our listeners out there and trying to make this decision about keto and breastfeeding,
Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing is
Yeah.
information is power,
Yes.
but so is intuition. Trust your gut.
Trust your gut.
Lean on your people.
Yes.
And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Ask for help.
And I think the other big takeaway is there's no one-size-fits-all answer here.
There really isn't. What works for one person might not work for another.
Right, and that's okay.
And that's okay.
It's about finding what feels right for you.
Exactly.
For your body.
For your body, for your baby.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
is there anything else you want to leave our listener with?
Just this, you've got this parenthood is a journey. There are going to be bumps along the way.
Yeah.
But by arming yourself with knowledge, trusting your instincts, and building a strong support system, you can navigate those bumps with confidence and grace.
That's beautifully said.
Oh, thank you.
And I have a feeling this won't be the last time we talk about nutrition and breastfeeding.
Oh, I'm sure it won't.
It's a big topic.
It's a huge topic. There's always more to learn.
And we're always here to help you figure it out. Awesome. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, be well and trust your gut.